Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the really crucial insights from your sources about habits, how they shape our lives, and specifically how changing them can lead to some, well, pretty significant personal transformation.
It's interesting, is it? We often think big life changes need these huge external triggers, like a new job, moving somewhere totally different, maybe even winning the lottery, big stuff.
Right.
But the material we're looking at really pushes back on that. It suggests the real powerful change starts much smaller with our habits.
Exactly. So that's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to unpack what habits actually are, the sort of psychology behind why they're so impactful, and then, crucially, get into some real actionable strategies, a toolkit, basically, for you to use. We're pulling this directly from the material you sent over, so yeah, expect some maybe surprising facts and things you can actually do. Okay, so first things first. We talk about habits all the time, but what exactly is a habit according to this material? What are we really dealing with here?
Well, fundamentally, it's something you do regularly, yeah. But the key bit is often without much conscious thought. Your brain's kind of automated it. Think brushing your teeth in the morning. It's a classic positive one. But then you have others, maybe less helpful ones, like scrolling social media.
Yeah.
Endlessly.
The scrolling, yeah. Moving down the screen, Instagram, Facebook. You pick up your phone for one thing.
And suddenly an hour is gone. You didn't even really notice. You weren't consciously deciding to spend that hour scrolling. It just happened.
Out of habit, right. And I think that ties into something you mentioned from the source. Break the habit before the habit breaks you. It sounds dramatic, but it highlights how these automatic things, especially the unhelpful ones, can really consume us if we're not, well, paying attention.
Absolutely. And this leads to, I think, one of the most profound ideas in the material. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Okay, unpack that. Fall to the level of your systems. What does that mean in practice?
It means, basically, that having big, ambitious goals isn't enough. Yeah, we all set goals, New Year's resolutions, things like that. But real change, lasting change, comes from the small, consistent things you do every single day. Your systems, the routine.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, take learning English, something many listeners might be aiming for. If your goal is just speak English fluently, maybe you practice hard once a week. It's tough to see progress that way.
Right. Very tough.
But if your system is, say, listening to 15 minutes of English every single morning or reading one article, even if it feels small, your brain starts adapting because it's regular, consistent. It's that daily repetition that builds the pathways, not necessarily the huge effort once in a while.
Precisely. It highlights the sheer power of consistency and that daily routine. It's not just nice to have. It's where self-discipline actually comes from. It's not some magical treat you're born with. It's a result of building those effective systems. And that old idea about 21 days to form a habit, the sources actually suggest that's a bit of a myth.
Oh, really? I've heard that number everywhere.
Yeah, it's widely quoted, but the research suggests it's much more variable. It could be anywhere from like 18 days to well over 200 days. The average seems to be closer to 66 days for something to become truly automatic.
Wow, 66 days. Okay, that really underscores the need for patience and sticking with it, even when it feels small.
Exactly. Consistency over intensity, especially at the start.
So we get the what and the why. Let's talk how. How do we actually build these better habits, these better systems? What are the practical tips?
Okay, let's get into the toolkit. Tip number 1, start small. Like really small.
Smaller than you think.
Probably, yeah. Don't aim for, I'm going to study English for 3 hours every day right off the bat. That's overwhelming. Your brain kind of goes into panic mode. Too much effort.
Right, the resistance kicks in.
Exactly. But if you aim for just, say, 10 minutes or even 5 minutes, it feels manageable, almost trivial. Your brain doesn't put up the same fight. It's easier to just do it. Build that initial consistency first.
Okay, start small. Makes sense. What's next?
Tip 2 is habit stacking. This is quite clever.
Habit stacking. Okay.
You basically link a new habit you want to form onto an existing habit you already do without thinking. The material gives a great example. After I drink my morning tea, I will listen to one English podcast.
Ah, I see. So the tea is the trigger. You finish your tea, which you do anyway, and boom, that's the cue for the podcast.
Precisely. You're piggybacking the new habit onto an established routine. It makes it much easier to remember and integrate.
That's smart. Okay, and tip 3.
Track your progress. This one sounds simple, but it's surprisingly powerful for motivation.
How so? Just writing it down.
Yeah, grab a notebook, use an app, whatever works. Just make a note each day. Listen to 15 minutes English, or just put a check mark on a calendar. Seeing that visual evidence of your streak, it really reinforces the behavior. It makes you not want to break the chain.
Yeah, I get that. It provides that little dopamine hit, that sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. And related to that, the source suggests rewarding yourself.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, maybe after you stick to your new habit for a week, treat yourself. Like a movie night.
In English, of course.
Haha, ideally, yeah. Reinforce the goal.
Ah.
But the reward helps solidify the habit loop in your brain.
Okay, so start small, stack habits, track progress, and reward yourself. Those are some solid actions.
They are, but there's another layer to this. According to the sources, it's not just about the actions. It's also about your mindset, your internal beliefs.
Right. Changing what you do often requires changing how you think about yourself.
Exactly. The material offers some really potent examples of self-talk, things you can actually say to yourself. Like instead of just saying, I want to practice English, you shift to, I am the kind of person who practices English daily.
Ooh, that's different. That's an identity statement.
It is, or saying, I choose growth every day. These aren't just empty affirmations. They start to reshape your self-perception. If you start to believe you're that kind of person, acting in line with that belief becomes, well, more natural.
And why is that self-talk so effective? What's the connection?
Well, the source puts it beautifully, I think. Words are powerful. What you say shapes how you think. And how you think shapes your actions. And your actions, they shape your life.
Wow. That's a direct chain reaction. Words, thoughts, actions, life.
Pretty much. It shows how fundamental that internal dialogue is. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm bad at this, or I always fail, guess what?
You're probably going to act accordingly. Yeah. Okay, that mindset piece is huge.
It really is. It underpins the sustainability of the whole thing.
Now, even with all these great strategies, we know it's not always smooth sailing, right? People slip up. Old ways creep back in. The material actually points out some common English phrases that kind of capture this reality, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. They're quite illuminating, like, old habits die hard.
Heard that one plenty of times.
It just means it's genuinely difficult to change things you've been doing for a long, long time. You might catch yourself, reaching for your phone in bed and think, ugh, old habits die hard. It acknowledges the struggle.
What else?
Then there's stick to it. That's about determination, right? Continuing even when it's challenging. You might say to yourself, this daily study is tough, but I'm going to stick to it. It's about perseverance.
Okay.
And out of habit. That's when you do something automatically, without conscious thought. Like maybe you automatically said hello in English to someone, even if they don't speak it. Oops, sorry, said that out of habit.
Right, the autopilot kicking in.
Yeah. And then the one we probably all relate to sometimes, fall back into old habits.
Uh-oh. The relapse?
Kinda, yeah. It's when you return to those less helpful routines, maybe after a break or when you're stressed. Like, yeah, after the holidays, I totally fell back into my old habit of staying up too late. It happens.
It does. Recognizing these patterns is probably helpful in itself.
Definitely. Normalizes the ups and downs of the process. So, wrapping things up here, I think the big overarching message from all this material is pretty clear. You don't need to wait. You don't need a Monday or the first of the month or a new year. The power to start changing, to start building better systems, it's right here, right now, today.
Yeah. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment because that might never come. It's about starting because ultimately, as the sources emphasize, when you change your habits, you really are changing your life. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. What's just one tiny, consistent action you could start today? Something small. And how might that one small thing done consistently start to ripple outwards and maybe, just maybe, transform an area of your life you thought was stuck?